Wait for it. Good morning, Wayne.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Awesome. Now, I got a special treat for all the BrandDIYers today. Wayne is a change consultant. He and I got to know each other, years ago. Were you working on Search Doppler?
I was, yeah.
You were
A little bit with those guys, but that's where we, I think, first got connected, and then we've kind of stayed in touch ever since. And
you were working on Ruby too.
I worked on Ruby,
the online cooking phenomenon.
Yeah, the phenomenon, the world's largest online cooking school. So yeah. Ruby, ROUXBE.com.
Very cool people too.
Yeah.
And you and I have just stayed in contact, and now you're my lifeline. You're the person that I talk to every couple of weeks just to get my head screwed on straight again. So you're my unpaid therapist, which is very nice. Thank you very much.
It goes both ways. Thank you.
And a couple of weeks ago, you said, check this out. And we started talking about rebrands.
That's right.
And you brought up this website that had all these logo changes and rebrands on them. I said, we should do a show about this because we both got opinions. And so we put a show together, and I've got a game show format. We've got 5 rebrands that we're going to look at today. And I got my Buddha breakfast bowl, which is going to be the buzzer. So we get 5 minutes on each one. Then I ring the bell and we go on to the next one. And so we both get to sound off on what we think of each of the rebrands. You good with that?
Yeah. It sounds like fun.
This might all go terribly south in a minute as I try to share a screen, but hold on, stay with me. All right, here we go, folks. It is the great brand debate, the great rebrand debate with Wayne Carrigan, change consultant. Oh yeah, we never even talked about this. Where can people find you today before we get started?
Yeah, I can be emailed at wayne@tap.work, or we'll put a link in underneath this session so you don't have to remember that. It's I'm currently with a company called Theory and Practice, head up their sales and marketing. We're a bespoke AI machine learning modeling company. So as much as I've, for the last 10 years, have been doing a lot of scale up and change consulting, once I ran into these guys, it was a home, a great company. And if anyone's into wanting to learn more about machine learning and AI, then you can hit me up around that as well.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna live link you in the show notes to this. So folks, BrandDIYers, reach out to Wayne. One of the biggest brains I know in marketing, has a great, really, really sound opinion on so many subjects that have to do with marketing and brands and AI. All right, ready? The great rebrand debate. Here we go. First one, Major League Soccer. What do we have to say about that?
Well, I'm a huge fan of Major League Soccer. I kind of know this one. The original brand was crafted after, and logo was crafted after some of the American sports. If you look at it's like Major League Baseball, hockey, all in that kind of way. It was green and blue. The new one was part of MLS thinking a little bit more globally and making their brand way more accessible. Each team can change the color. There was a backlash when they originally did this, right? Because the core fans are like, everyone likes nostalgia, and everyone if I've been supporting something for 20 years, why change it? Because now they think that they're devaluing their loyalty. But it took like literally a month for it to be adopted and everyone to realize how actually awesome it was.
Well, to me, I look at the one on the left and it looked like somebody just came out of a coal mine and then sneezed into a hanky.
Yeah.
Just from a sheer branding perspective, I look at the one on the left and I go, if I shrunk that down and put it on a lapel pin, it would look like I need to take my suit to the dry cleaners. The one on the right, the new one, I look at it and I go, it looks like classic soccer team logo. And if I take the MLS and the stars out of there and I just leave that red, white shield, and I put that on a lapel pin, people will recognize it. And you put it across the room on an ad or on a billboard or something like that, people will recognize it. You see the one on the left, you go, what is that? It reminds me of that old painting where you see like a young woman or an old lady, depending on what you're looking for.
Yeah,
I'm sure
exactly.
there's a young lady and an old lady in this shoe kicking the soccer ball.
I
Somewhere in
agree. Yeah. I think it's an excellent point that when you look at ID, right, particularly with something as important as MLS's ID and logos, the scale. So many times I've seen a really great logo. You put it on a billboard, you can't tell what it is, or you put it on a pin or make it an icon on a website, you can't tell what it is. Someone built it for their like 30 inches away from their screen and never thought of its uses. And I think the kudos that MLS get here is that they really put use case and accessibility and pliability as one of the, if not the reason to do this, but certainly one of the reasons. And when you see it in execution in all the ways it can be executed, it's they've done a really good job.
Now, another thing about this, I believe that the one on the left was probably developed when people in the United States said, we're going to sell soccer. Oh, what's soccer?
Yeah.
And they're going, we have to show a foot kicking a ball in order for people to understand what soccer is. And this brings up that whole debate. Do you create a logo or a word mark or something that explains what you do? Now, I'm a big fan of when I have a name, Major League Soccer, that's a decent name because it says what you do. Not terribly creative, but it says what you do. And if you have a shitty name like Boeing 747, you put a modifier under it, which is Jumbo Jet. Explains what you do. However, I think a logo, I look at Nike, and the logo itself is just a flag. It's to flag you saying, hey, I'm over here. I don't think it's that necessary to put a shoe kicking a ball in order for people to get that it is soccer. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there's a use case for reasons to do either, and you have to make those decisions strategically, right? If you're a bath store and you have a funky name that no one would ever be able to associate with or even ask a question, then you may want to include something about what you sell in the ID, or at least as you said, tagline it or something, right? But I think that a lot of people, I think you're on to something that's absolutely true. A lot of people think they have to completely identify with their either product or service. And let's look at like Apple does not sell apples, right? So, and they don't need to. So I think if you're thinking about your ID, you're thinking about your brand, you want to think about it through, how am I going to use it? What are all the different use cases? Does it make sense to my customers when I put them through those use cases? And then if one of those things is that there's somehow confusion of what the product is or what it is, then I would think about putting in like the soccer ball, but only at the end of those decisions. The MLS has another interesting problem when you talk about use cases. Everyone says MLS soccer. Right. And so and that's fine, because no one actually says Major League Soccer, right? So the brand now is MLS, but it's their original, I think their website is MLS Soccer, right? And so it's always been, they never thought of that as an execution until it was too late. But now it's become a norm, so no one actually notices that there's a problem there. Pet peeve,
MLS, hate it. Whole idea. I think of real estate listings. I think it's people getting bored. Anyway, next, Burger King. This is you and I had to talk about this before.
We did this.
Let's talk about Burger King.
Yeah, so there was a huge outrage, but I don't know if that outrage was seeded by Burger King or not when this logo first changed. They actually did an amazing job, because they did one full page ads on why they've changed the logo. So
I remember the ad. The ad was, why the hell did they change the Burger King logo?
Yeah, they kind of like criticize themselves, but then explain themselves. And fast food has become really commoditized, and the things that differentiate, the Taco Bells, the Burger Kings, in the US, the Chick-fil-A's, the Wendy's, the McDonald's, that is very subtle as far as product goes, right? The differentiators are those places have in-store. I think McDonald's has done a good job of transitioning their in-store experience. But the rest of them are really, like go up to the trough, get your food, leave experiences. Where I think when we were talking about this, you brought up that the new logo, which looks like an old logo, is really banking on and shining a light on that nostalgia feeling of what Burger King used to be, and putting the product, the burger, and not the flash, at the center of their brand today. And I think they've accomplished that.
I hate it. I mean, I love it, but I hate it because what it does, it reminds me of scratchy rayon shirts that I used to have to wear when I was a little kid.
Right.
And it reminds me of Zoom. You gotta zoom, and Sesame Street back when the screen was kind of dark,
Right.
and HR Puff and stuff. And it brings back all those memories, which are not necessarily pleasant memories of the 1970s. But I look at it and I go, hey, yeah, it's kind of old school burger, and they're trying to disguise that it's a shitty burger company, but make it look a little more like In-N-Out or Five Guys, or, those kind of sort of back to the roots. We only have 3 things on the menu, burger places. And I think they nailed it, even though it makes me itchy, makes me feel like I'm wearing a regular.
Do you consume Burger King?
No, I hate it.
Right.
I'm a McDonald's guy.
So they're not talking to you anyway, right? They're trying to maybe bring in the next generation, right?
Yeah.
The generation that's younger, and we so in that case I agree with you. Like I'm not a huge fan of fast food in general, but I will in a pinch eat at any one of them, and I think this is a much better the focus for a brand than Flash. That it was I don't know what the other one's about. It's a night. Maybe there was when they did their whole nighttime stuff, and that's the moon. I don't know what the blue stands for, but this certainly is. If you want a burger, this is a place that says we have burgers for sure.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I look at the one on the left and I hate it too. To me, it looks like, hey, get a shiny burger.
Yeah,
and
plastic burger.
I know it's a plastic burger. It totally reeks of 1980s.
Yeah.
And the one on the right, it makes, like I said, it looks like Sesame Street back in the bad old days.
Right.
And HR Puff and stuff.
Well, I'm sorry to hear you had such a poor childhood. Yeah.
My childhood was great. It was it was the rayon shirts. Right. I don't know. Do you remember those shirts? They used to have like a thing like this, like hockey jerseys, and then they used to have laces up there, and they were made of polyester, a stretchy polyester. And then when you took them off at night, they would spark like those terrible blankets. They would give you electrical shocks.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was just where we shopped. I don't know.
Yeah, you get that with wool too these days.
Yeah.
The other thing I got to say is with Burger King is they are at when you look at sort of the price where they're priced in the market, they're always competing for the lowest price. I mean, I think even the old logo put you in the Taco Bell category, which is definitely in the lowest, the lowest of the lowest price of product and maybe even quality, right? I think with this logo, they're saying, hey, we're still going to be low price. It's cheap. It's a cheap logo. It's almost like a 7-Eleven logo, which
it's all Letraset. Yeah, totally 7-Eleven.
Yeah, well, and 7-Eleven, I worked with them for a while, and they I worked with an ad agency, and the ad agency did these like beautiful hot dog posters for them, and 7-Eleven was like, no one will eat that. They look too good. Yeah. Right? Like no one would ever expect a hot dog of that.
You want one of those sweaty hot dogs, the sweaty roller ones.
Like we can't fulfill the promise of really cheap food, right?
Yeah.
And I think Burger King here says, there is something quality here, but it's cheap. And even when fractions of pennies count in companies like this, it they've just lost one color. So everything they print,
That's right. Their
every
printing costs go
package,
down.
everything, right? And that can be the difference between a highly profitable business and a not profitable business in this category.
Next one. I have an opinion on this.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
You and I talked about this before, but I know a guy named Jeff Stone, really smart designer and strategist, and he got hired by Ford back when Ford was kind of losing its way. And he got pulled in, and they said, "What should we do? We're sucking right now." And at that time, the bean counters and the consultants in charge had decided that they were going to take that Ford logo, that blue thing with the Ford signature on it, and make it small, 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 and introduce a whole new logo. And that was Ford written in NASA type, sort of space type, because it was the space age. And it was awful. And Jeff couldn't figure out what the heck to do with Ford. He knew something was wrong. He knew they'd lost their way, but he couldn't figure it out. So he went and talked to the people on the shop floor, and he said, "What is it that you like about Ford?" And they said, "I think we've lost our way, but back in the day, we used to take great pride in working for the Fords, the family, not the car maker, not the company, the corporation, but the family, the Fords." And he went, "That's it.
Right.
That's it. The whole thing about Ford is that it's a name, it's a human." And that brings us forward to authenticity, founder story, all that stuff that is coming back so powerfully now. They were moving away from. They were saying, the Ford thing, let's just get rid of it and let's put something modern in.
Right.
And so they threw away the NASA logo and they grew the size of the classic Ford logo on the back of the trucks. It's really big now.
Yeah.
And Ford's a great company. Now, it isn't just the logo, but it has to do with so much. GM, logo on the left, one we all grew up with, one everybody knows. The one on the right, I'm like, what are they selling? I don't know, but you have a very strong perspective on this.
Well, I do, but just to step back, I think your Ford story is amazing. When people feel that there's a need to change their idea, change direction of an organization, and it seems to me that it's I think you call them the bean counters or the consultants or whatever, get into a boardroom and they come up with ideas and they forget to engage their customer or their employees, the major stakeholders that make a company, particularly a large company, great. That's the type of failure you can get. And luckily they had a smart guy that actually went and talked to people, and they were able to course correct,
Mm-hmm.
right? This GM logo is, to me, really, I've seen this a lot where an organization doesn't necessarily have innovation in their products yet, or they're hoping to breed innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, public companies need to create a vision that they're going to be a modern company. Mm-hmm. So instead of putting that effort into products and showing the market that they actually have innovation within the organization, they change their logo. Mm-hmm. And the more I look at the GM logo, it's like an elephant.
Yeah.
Like,
I think they're trying. I think they're trying to be a cool dad by wearing like jeans with fancy pockets and pointy shoes, and then they just look like douchebags.
Well, I do know that GM is moving towards an electric platform.
That's what this looks like. This one stinks of electric.
But then they should have like two umlauts or something, wheels underneath, right? Yeah. So it does look like electric. It also looks like General Electric. So which is a failing company right now. Uh-huh. So it's this is a tough one. Only time will tell. Sometimes like I said, everyone puts raises their arms and gets upset when brands change their logo. And then you give them a little time and you figure out if it works or if it's not working. Yeah. It reminds me of the story of Airbnb. Mm-hmm. And so when Airbnb, which was the darling at the time, changed their logo, the internet went nuts. Customers went nuts. And now I ask people, hey, do you remember the old Airbnb logo? And they're like, what an old Airbnb look, right?
Yeah.
Like there's short memory.
Now, I'm going to interrupt. This looks like an Instagram or a Facebook logo. To me, this projects onto my phone. So I go, oh, it's the new GM app. And then I go, if I saw that on my phone, would I like that better than the one on the left? To me, no, because the one on the left looks distinctive, even if you round the corners to give it that appy feel. But the one on the right, I go, it's way too easy to confuse with all the new companies out there. It doesn't have a sort of a feeling of strength and having been there a long time.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It does look like an icon. I don't know if it'll scale. So put that on a lapel. Am I going to know what it is or what it says? Not
Totally.
sure. I now do see in the white space of the M a plug. Yeah. So there's where someone went, hey, we're now an electric company. Let's put a plug in our logo.
Yeah, the one on the right in the M has fangs, which is like it's a vampire company. All right, next one. Okay, now you don't know this company, but when I lived in Hong Kong and I went shopping in the supermarket, I just about fell on my ass laughing because I saw this toothpaste called Darkie. And I go, God bless the British Empire. There's the last holdover for back to the colonial days, like we're back in the 1800s. And this turned out to be a Colgate brand that was then being manufactured in China. So you'd show the Darkie toothpaste and you'd flip the corner and it'd be written in Chinese. And while I was actually in Hong Kong, they realized that Darkie equals bad. They in the 1980s, they figured
it's ridiculous.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so they made that major, they probably brought the best minds of a generation together in a boardroom and they say, what can we do? And they said, let's change it dramatically to Darlie. And you're like, no way, that's even better. That's even funnier. And then they said, let's call it Darlie and change the guy in the top hat. And you're like, so I read the story. And it's a Colgate brand manufactured in China, huge share of market in China. And it was one of those things where they realized that, this is probably not good anymore. And so what they did, they took the terribly brave move of taking just enough action to look like they were taking action without actually taking action. And interesting side note, the Chinese writing like when you flip the box over, Chinese writing didn't change at all. Why?
Right.
They own 53% of the Chinese market. So there you go. The case for a rebrand. They're kind of getting pushed to do it because it makes.
Well, it's not even push. It's 2021. If you're not, I know when you're laughing at the stupidity of the company, not at the brand, not at the execution
at the
here,
stupidity.
Right? If you're not offended by this anywhere on the planet right now, then you're well behind the times, right? But put that aside, from just a brand marketing side, to me, this really reminds me of organizations that are making decisions based out of fear. So if they own 53% of the market, they're afraid that their customers won't recognize the new brand. They're afraid that they'll lose market share. They're afraid. So then they compromise on what the right thing to do is. And in these types of situations, there's a real opportunity to be leaders, to be social leaders, and actually grow your market space, right? So in a completely different way, but let's call it, this one way overdue. It's not a crisis, but if you look at someone like Tylenol in the 80s, they had the poison crisis where someone was going around putting poison in Tylenol capsules. Tylenol pulled all their product. They invented the category of product safety in that category, in pretty much every category. They own the patents for all of the peels on top of jars and stuff like that. And they came out within weeks and led a market into a trust, right? So not only they're after what could have been a devastating event, they became the market leader. And Darlie or Colgate here had that opportunity, and they still haven't taken it, right? They're still compromising.
No, it's what makes me laugh, because you can see people squirming in a boardroom going, I want to hang on to this, but I kind of feel like I gotta get it makes me laugh, and I go, yeah, it's a huge opportunity.
And we talked about MLS. Well, the NFL, Washington Redskins, right? Resisted. Last year, they don't even have a new brand, right? They call themselves the Washington Football Team.
Yeah.
They don't even have a logo. All they have is their color. No one's bothered by this change.
Yeah.
Which they've gone from something that they believed was like 100 years of nostalgia and brand equity to complete generic, and people go, it doesn't change my relationship with the team or at all. And they respect that it's finally time that they're doing something principled, and that's the right thing to do. And so kudos to, it took a big movement in the US to make that happen, but you have to give kudos to Washington to actually okay, it's time.
Yeah. All right. Last one. Wait a minute. There we are. Now, this is one again that you don't know about, but wait, I'm going to set the timer here. This is a client of mine. They came to me. They were called the Port Moody Refillery. It's one of those stores that, lots of cool, quirky products, very high quality, sustainability is a focus. A refillery, for the brand DIYers who don't know, is a place where you can go with your jars or your shampoo bottles, and they'll refill them. So very good idea. And what they saw was that they were outgrowing this idea, and what they saw themselves growing into was a place that had cool, quirky stuff that stood out, not too expensive, stuff that was high quality, so you didn't want to throw it away, and stuff that had an interesting story to it. So we went back to the drawing board and we said, Port Moody Refillery is going to hold you back, and they want to grow the brand and scale the brand into other locations. So we came up with this idea, and it actually came from the client, and it came from interviews that we did with customers. They said, what I love about this store is that it's not an ordinary store. It feels like the opposite of Walmart. This kept coming up again and again and again. And that led us to everything that's not mediocre. And it became the Unmediocre Store. So we're rolling this out right now. And what I loved about this, and this is, I want to finish off this sort of talk with this idea that for brand DIYers, people who are running a brand, and you feel like you go back to your old school, but the desk is too small to sit in, that suddenly you've outgrown what your brand was. You've pivoted, or you've evolved, or you've added new stuff. That doesn't mean that you have to hang on to the logo, but like GM, it doesn't mean that you have to jump to something new. I always recommend talk to your customers and find out what they love about you in the first place. And they're the ones that told us about this. Thoughts on that?
Well, I think the approach, right, of understanding strategically where your logo, your brand fits. So if for a localized Port Moody store with a hometown feel, where it's a neighborhood store, absolutely, right? Port Moody Refillery kind of makes sense. You even if you don't know what it means, you're gonna find out about this place by walking the street, or you're gonna find it through friends. Mm-hmm. The minute you're looking to scale outside that market, and you need something that is more usable in different ways, and if you're going to expand in your product base, and if you're going to have something that can repeat in new markets and move fast, then that's the time to change, right? And so it's a strategic reason to change. By going to the employees, by talking to the founders, by going to customers and finding out what's unique and what really resonates with them, and then trying to replicate that, test that in those new markets to make sure it actually can scale. I think it's absolutely the right approach. The only criticism I would have here is, I don't know if everyone knows how to say that word when they come by. Mm-hmm. So it's, for the literate, right? Is it unmediocre, right? Like, mediocre is not a word that most people write a lot, right? And
it's a very intellectual store, Wayne.
Yeah, and it has med in there
Intellectual.
too, right? So it could, and it's got like an RX kind of thing. So I would, it's, I mean, you know, it's still a testing thing, but I
Yeah.
love the because to me is not only on mediocre, it's like I can start to see this being used in other things, packaging, waste, right? On Dead Planet, like it's fun to use these opposites as opposed to being, you know, positive, like pro planet, pro whatever. Having the is very unique, and haven't seen anything in the market. And the giant like the minute you know what this company is, that thing scales, that thing's usable. It's in my mind, I think it's a brilliant execution of a brand, right? Particularly the word mark, logo mark, the
Yeah,
part of it.
I got super excited by it, and the whole idea that it came from the people who were shopping there.
Yeah, yeah. But you can imagine a wheel, right? Where
Mhm.
where it's on mediocre, on waste, on Walmart, on whatever,
Yeah,
right? Like all those things.
yeah,
Uh,
totally.
if you can start to imagine different ways in which your ID can be used to represent your brand, then you're onto something.
That's incredible. And I'm not going to say anything more about what we've gone ahead and done. Yeah, uh, yeah, it's great, great likes think of mind, you know? So that is it. That's all we got. Hold on, wait a minute. There we go. This has been awesome. This is also the first time that I've actually had screens that we share on the thing. Usually it's just a conversation side by each. And it's the first time I've used the Buddha bowl for
There you go.
timing. So
we're doing innovation, live innovation.
you're watching the future unfold in front of your eyes. This is incredible. Wayne, thank you very much. I'm gonna hot link you in the show notes for the show. And I love this. I'd love to bring you back again where we could do this assess stuff. So
Yeah.
if any of the folks at BrandDIY have any suggestions for things that you want us to go back and forth on, the Buddha bowl time format sort of thing, let me know and I'll bring Wayne back again for reprise.
Yeah, and I would say if anyone's struggling, I've you know watch your show a lot, and if anyone's struggling with their own current brand problem or rebrand problem or any part of it, we could even do a just a send us that stuff, and we can even invite you in at some point, I guess.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we bring in some of the entrepreneurs, and then
I've a bit of a hot seat kind of thing.
The entrepreneur hot seat, but I think it'd be great to have you in on it.
Hmm.
Then all I have to do is just ding the bowl.
That's it.
I can leave all the hard work to you.
That's called scale.
I'm scaling. I'm outsourcing my brain to you. Awesome. I'll talk to you later, Wayne.
All right. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.